everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back for the final injury report of the week for the Lions and for the Minnesota Vikings. Man, we got some pretty big updates. I would say the Vikings definitely have a lot of good news today, but this is not your normal just injury report video. Like usually we go through the injury report, maybe we get some notes from coaches, and that's a wrap. But this one's a little bit different because it's Friday. The second part of this video is going to be like a mini preview to the game. And I wouldn't even call it mini because I think there's a lot here, all right? I saw some other ideas of this where it's more of a condensed version, and I think that's real good. So we're going to pull up some All-22 at the end. I'm going to talk about some things that I'm expecting in this game, some changes with injuries. All of that stuff is coming in the second half of this video. So stay tuned for that. Let's get it started.
The city's been down, and it found a way to get up. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, all right? And we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. We're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Welcome everybody to the video. Glad you guys are here. Oh my goodness. Hey, it's good to be back for another Friday, and we're getting prepared for game day on Sunday. But this is a good football weekend, okay? Of course, a divisional game. Some people think we get our first win this weekend. I mean, I hope so. I mean, that'd be great. I would love to win. I don't care who it's against. I just want to win a football game. So that'd be beautiful. But also on Saturday, we know we got Michigan and we got Iowa in the Big Ten Championship. That's a night game. That game's going to be hype. Okay, so this is a good football weekend all the way around. But we're talking about this Lions-Vikings game first. So we're kind of going to roll through this injury report. I won't spend a lot of time here because I want to get to the preview side of this, and we can discuss more of the injuries on that front as well and how it can affect this week's game. All right, let's start off with the Vikings. We start off with them all week, so let's do it once again. Let's start off at the very top. We have Dalvin Tomlinson. As you can see, he has now improved to full participation. Yesterday was his first day back off the COVID list where he had limited participation. Today, full participation, and Mike Zimmer anticipates that he's going to be playing on Sunday. This is a very big get back for the Minnesota Vikings that right now statistically are one of the worst teams in the NFL at stopping the run. Now, they don't seem terrible when you're watching All-22. Maybe it's just because I haven't watched enough of it, but statistically speaking, if you look at the numbers, if you say the numbers don't lie, well, it tells you that they're one of the worst teams in the NFL at stopping the run in terms of yards per carry, yards per game, whatever stat you want to look at. They're not very good at it. So this is a very big get for them on a defensive line that's already missing some key pieces like Danielle Hunter, Everson Griffin, who just went off on us. We'll see that in the All-22 at the second part of this video, but he went off on us last game. So this is good for them to get Dalvin Tomlinson back off the COVID list, and he is expected to play on Sunday. Mackenzie Alexander, talk about all the week. The slot cornerback limited once again today, and so now he is questionable. But he has practiced all week, so I would anticipate that he's probably going to be good to go. Anthony Barr, good news today is that he went to limited participation from no participation yesterday, and now he is questionable. As we stated, he made his debut against us, and this is one of the top linebacker groups. If you ask me personally, I think it's one of the best in football, at least from what I've seen with the All-22. This is a good linebacker group, all right? They communicate well. It's just they got playmakers everywhere in coverage, but also in the run game. They just rack up numbers in that linebacker unit. It's a good unit. And we know last time we played him that we were getting Anthony Barr back, so that was kind of a big deal. Eric Hendricks has played 100% of the snaps so far this year, and it looks like he could possibly play Sunday. So that is also a big addition for them. Bashaud Breeland, he is also in for this game, the cornerback that has struggled a little bit this season. A big update that's not on here is Patrick Peterson. We don't really have an update with him. We don't know if he's going to play on Sunday. Mike Zimmer said that he could play. He doesn't know. He just does not know with Patrick Peterson at that point. He is still on the COVID list. Because it's already Friday and he's on the COVID list, I feel like he won't play, but at the same time, I don't want to count him out. Now, Patrick Peterson was a big part of the game last time we played him. If you can remember, we tried to run some routes against him. He made some plays defensively. I remember he had a pass breakup on Hodge. I think he had a pass breakup on Trinity Benson, or at least it was just good coverage. That's a huge name in this secondary where a lot of people say that's the weakness of this team. It's a big name in the back end. So we'll keep an eye on that. Tomorrow would probably be the best day to know because I think tomorrow there's probably a deadline to bringing him off of the COVID list and having him back for Sunday. But as of now, we just don't have that update. Cameron Bynum, he is out for this game. Their backup safety now behind Harrison Smith. He is out for this game. He did not practice all week. Ryan Connolly, as you guys can see, quadriceps, full participation. He's going to go, so we'll see him on special teams at least. Delvin Cook. All right, here's the huge one. What's the word? He's out. All right, he's out. He didn't practice all week. He may be out also on Thursday. We'll just kind of wait and see for that. But for our case, he's not going to play on Sunday, which means Alexander Madison's going to be the number one. Now, their return man, who has 2 kick returns, and it's the fastest in NFL history to have 2 kick return touchdowns in the amount of games that he plays. I believe he's done it like 5 games, which is just insane. And it's on the other side of things, punt return wise, there has been 0 punt return touchdowns. So maybe we can change that look. I mean, Khalif Raymond has the longest punt return in football this season with 48 yards. So I thought I'd just throw that out there. But Dalvin Cook's not going to play. Mike Zimmer said he's seeing a lot more 2 shell coverage or shell coverage in the back end. 2 safeties, not having Dalvin Cook. A lot of their things do play through the run game. But Alexander Mattison, in 2 starts that he's made this season, he has over 100 yards in both. And that includes the game he played against us where they didn't have Dalvin Cook the first time around. He went over 100 yards. Now, statistically, it looks much better than I think maybe it was. One of the huge runs were on a missed tackle by Derek Barnes, which we'll see in the All-22. But overall, he's not going to play. And that's a big loss because we know how good Dalvin Cook is. Christian Darrisaw, he's also out. So the rookie left tackle is out for this game. Rashad Hill will step in at that position. Zimmer touched on a little bit today, saying that Charles Harris usually plays on the other side. Darrisaw did give up a sack last week against Nick Bosa. They're going to have their backup, Rashad Hill. So hopefully the Lions can try to take advantage of that. The issue for the Lions is that they're missing some of their top pass rushers, which is not good. Eric Kendricks, he improved the limited participation today. Questionable with a biceps injury. He could play on Sunday as well. As we said, he hasn't missed a snap defensively for the Vikings this season. He had the interception against us the first time around. It's a really good linebacker group. So if they have those 2 guys, that's huge. That's huge. And especially because they're looking like they're getting some of their defensive linemen back. Not only are they getting Dalvin Tomlinson back, but they also are anticipating to have Michael Pierce back. But he's still on IR. So that one's kind of a weird one. Mike Zimmer said, well, he's not on the injury report. And he's like, hold up, wait a minute. That's because he's on IR. That's why he's not on the injury report. So they still have to activate him off. The deadline is tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern time. But they're anticipating him to be back. So they could possibly have both of those guys, Michael Pierce and Dalvin Tomlinson, on a unit that's missing some defensive end power. They could get a lot of help in the interior. So we'll keep an eye on it. But their front 7 is starting to come back, and it looks like they may be getting some of these major pieces back. And this was, I think, the exact same talking point we had last time we faced this team. Speaking of defensive linemen, Sheldon Richardson, full participation, he's going to go. Vigil linebacker, he's been full participation. He's going to be in, and so is Armand Watts, another depth defensive tackle. So, yes, the front 7, which is a spot to really look at with this team, it sounds like they're going to get some pieces back. Dalvin Tomlinson looks like he's going to go. Michael Pierce is still kind of wait and see because he's got to be taken off of IR. Right now, he's practicing, but he's got to be taken off of IR. So it's not like he's been missing practice. So he could definitely be up to speed. They just have to make that happen. And then, of course, Patrick Peterson, which is a huge one. That's the one that I'll be really keeping my eye on is the Patrick Peterson one. If he can't go, if you're going to call the secondary a weakness, not having Patrick Peterson, I could honestly see that. Now, they got some safeties. They got some safeties, that's for sure. But cornerbacks, it's a little bit They got some young guys back there. So anyway, last year that was kind of an issue for him. That is the Minnesota Vikings side of the injury report. Let's move over to the Lions side, and then we'll get into kind of this little preview type of deal. All right, on the Lions side, we got a little bit of good news as well, but a lot of things have pretty much stayed the same. Trey Flowers is out once again, did not practice all week. That is a very tough loss. He played really well against Minnesota the first time around. He had one of his best games against Minnesota, and that's very helpful. When you have Rashad Hill, starting at tackle, it'd be nice to have Flowers across from Charles Harris, but we're not going to have that this weekend, okay? Where I think we're going to miss him is run defense specifically, but we just need other guys to step up at this point. And I'm thinking that's going to be a lot of Austin Bryant. I just have that feeling. We saw him last time we played him a few times. I think we're going to see more Austin Bryant, and they possibly could throw in a little bit of Julian that struggled last time we played Minnesota. Kadero Hodge, the improvement here is full participation from limited full participation. He's in with an illness. Kadero Hodge will play against the Minnesota Vikings. And he had actually a pretty good game against Minnesota, aside from a missed block. He had a good game. He actually caught the 2-point conversion. But after that, it kind of just wasn't as good. But it wasn't a bad game. He stepped in and helped us. Remember, that was really the first time we saw him because Quintez Cephas went down in that game. Bobby Price, he's out for this one. We talked about it yesterday. We could see some Iffy playing some special teams. We have Mark Gilbert that plays special teams. So we have other guys that can step up, and maybe that's how they get Iffy going with his potential, first start, or not even, shouldn't even say start, but first game played since week 2 against Green Bay if he does play this weekend. Jalen Reeves-Maybin is out. This one hurts. He's another guy that I thought played pretty darn well. You can remember, we'll see in the All-22, the Lions, last time they played the Vikings, ran a lot of 3 linebacker sets. Derek Barnes, Alex Anzalone, and Jalen Reeves-Maybin all were on the field at the same time. They did that a lot against Minnesota last time. So this is a tough loss. We'll get more to this in the All-22, but we'll come back to that. Penei Sewell, he's listed as questionable. Struggled a little bit last time we faced him as well. Everson Griffin gave him problems, but at the same time, he's also on the left side. At that time, we had Matt Nelson playing right tackle. I hope we have Sewell. The fact is that it's illness, and we hate to hear that, but at the same time, it makes me a little bit more optimistic that he's going to be able to play, and he has been limited the last 2 days. So I feel like he's going to be good to go. I feel like he will be. I haven't heard anything, from Dan Campbell, anything like that. So we'll keep an eye on it, but I really hope that he can play. We're going to need that guy. DeAndre Swift, especially if they're getting some of those linemen back. DeAndre Swift, he's out for this game. Dan Campbell said he hopes that he's going to be out for that it's just kind of like a week thing and that he could possibly be back a week from now, but he's not completely sure on that. He said his injury is tender. He's feeling better, but he is tender right now. Means Jamal Williams going to get a lot of carries. And keep in mind, last time we played Minnesota, Jamal Williams actually had more carries than DeAndre Swift, and he had more yards than DeAndre Swift. He had 4.4 yards a carry to Swift's 4.6. It's always nice to have that duo. Dan Campbell did say it's going to be a lot of Jamal Williams. They will mix in some Jamar Jefferson and some Godwin Igwebuike. A loss for the Lions because Swift does a lot, and it's really outside of the run game that he helps us a ton. It's really in the pass game. Trinity Benson, he's going to play as well. It'll be interesting to see who's active at the receiver position for this game, but he's going to play, so both those guys are healthy. I don't know how many guys are going to have active at the receiver position and which guys those are going to be now that you also have Josh Reynolds in this mix. That, by the way, hint, I think he's going to do pretty well this weekend. Michael Brockers, limited participation. He is questionable. We could really use Brockers as well. We could use some of these D linemen to be healthy. Not having Flowers, I would love to have Brockers. We need guys that are going to explode off the line of scrimmage in this game. We'll see that in the All-22. Matt Nelson, questionable for this game with his ankle injury. It'd be cool to have him. Maybe we can go to some of those 6 offensive lineman spets, and at worst, it's for depth. And then Big V, he's in line to be back. He is in for Sunday's game. So that's great news because I thought Kramer struggled a little bit last week. I don't dislike Kramer. I just struggled a little bit last week. So that is the Lions side of the injury report. Now let's dive into some of this All-22, and I can kind of preview this game a little bit, some things to look out for, give you my X factor, guys I think will play well, and do the same in the comments below. So y'all like the new setup? Hey, this is just we're gonna try something different for this video. I think it looks cool. I don't know how this is gonna go, but anyways, I want to talk about this game a little bit. So first off, we're gonna start off on the defensive side of the ball, right? This Minnesota Vikings defense. Pass defense statistically has been much better. It's more in the middle of the pack. Run defense has been really bad, but there is a positional group in coverage that I think that's pretty darn well. It's that linebacker unit, all right? 4 of their 9 interceptions have come from the linebacker unit. Now, they still do have a very good playmaker in the back end, and that guy is Harrison Smith right here, okay? Harrison Smith's a pretty good player, and you're going to see that on this play. He's going to jump down on this route and get the Vikings an interception here. So while, yes, statistically speaking, their secondary does seem to be a weakness, they still do have playmakers in the back end, and we know that. Now, they may not have Patrick Peterson, but they do have that guy, Harrison Smith, and we know what he can do. That the Minnesota Vikings do, we know they like to zone run, but they also set up play action bootlegs, rollouts. They set out a lot of things out of that with the play action game. That's what the Vikings like to do. But one thing I noticed they do really well, going back to our game, seeing it last week, I'm sure they've done it all season, is they hide players well who they want to get to the ball to. This is what they like to do. They like to hide players like this, and that's what you see. He's going to just sprint across behind the line of scrimmage here. Now, they do have a player out there, but this is an area where I thought the Lions did a really good job against the Vikings. It's going to be a lot about communication when you talk about plays like this. Communicating for linebackers to the secondary. There's got to be a lot of communication going on, and who has who. There has to be that pre-snap. Do you remember about this time in the regular season, earlier in the season, that was a very big point for the Lions because they had a lot of breakdowns. Now, they're still having some breakdowns, but I think it's been much better, much improved since then, and we'll see a clip of that. However, communication's got to be great, and this guy right here, Jalen Reed-Maybin, I thought he played a real nice game against the Vikings, helping us with some of these things. Now, another part of this as well, when you're getting all these bootlegs, rollouts, you have to have your edge rushers. Charles Harris, there was also Trey Flowers. I'm expecting to see that probably be a lot of Austin Bryant. If it is Julian Okwara, you'll see him a lot more in passing downs, of course. He could hopefully help us in the run. That's where we need help, is with the run first, and I'm sure that'll be the Lions' focus first, is to stop the run. Even though the Vikings are 0-5 when Kirk Cousins doesn't throw for 275 yards, which is kind of nuts. But those guys are very important because they don't always need to make the sack, but you have to just get in the face, get your arm up, and just try to block passing lanes. By the way, a guy that's pretty good doing that is Aiden Hutchinson. But watch Jalen on this play. Again, another hidden player. You can see him coming out underneath the line of scrimmage, and Jalen sees that and jumps on it. Very good job to pass that off. Those are the types of things that they'll throw at you that makes it tough to see. However, what we didn't notice, because it was an incomplete pass, was this tight end, Conklin, all right? Tyler Conklin. This guy is one of those players that they use. They hide him a lot. He doesn't seem like he's involved in the play at all. And all of a sudden, he sprints out. And either he'll be wide open, or your defense has to react to that and open someone else, which we'll see, taking away this underneath pass. But that pass was incomplete because we did a good job of our outside linebacker getting out there. So that communication needs to be on point. But with the Minnesota Vikings offense, as I said, they like to hide players. They do a lot of things on play action. I bet this is another play action play. I could just guarantee that's what's going to happen because that's what they do. They get a lot of shots out of play action. But this play design is really cool. Communication needs to be on point. Who has who constantly, seeing motions. Who has who defensively. And I'm hoping where we are in the season, the Lions will be much better at this. And I thought they did a solid job, the first time they played him. But you see hand motion over here. all right, which kind of draws the attention of the defense. But again, 83 is the guy that kind of goes unnoticed because Ham gets the attention from this cornerback, not the tight end, right? The alignment shift, who has who, that changes. Now you're going to have Adam Thielen, you're going to have Justin Jefferson, they're going to cross the field. Also notice that because of this Ham coming out, they have 8 guys in the box. So there's only 1 safety deep. They're going to cross the field. But where things get tricky here is that Ham, he's not going to go out. The guy that motioned out is not going out for a route, which ultimately is going to hold this cornerback in because he can then at that point just drop because his guy didn't go out for a pass. But then he's kind of in no man's land at that point. Then it's the tight end that's going to leak out and get to this corner of the end zone, and he's going to be uncovered until this cornerback at the top realizes it, slides over to get the tight end, but because he does that, it's a wide open pass on the crossing route. It's the little things that they do well. You can see here, there's the play action. Ham stays in the block. This cornerback doesn't have a guy at that point, so he's kind of in no man's land. So he drops back, of course. But then it's about this tight end. You see the tight end, Conklin? He's doing this little wheel towards the end zone, which is going to take the attention of the San Fran defense, number 1. And since he slides over to get that tight end, all of a sudden, this is a ton of area for Cousins to just throw that pass to Adam Thielen. Defensively, for the Lions, we don't have Trey Flowers, which is a tough loss because he played well. But there's a couple guys that did play well that are here for the Lions defense. That's Nick Williams. I think Levi flashed a few times in this game. Ali McNeil's flashed recently. Those guys did play well on the D-line. And I expect to see more Levi this week, maybe more Aleem, and possibly some Nick Williams. The Lions did some of those, 4 defensive lineman sets. They did some 3 defensive lineman sets. Communication here, by the way. But it's Levi that I'm looking at on this play because you can just see the explosiveness off the snap. And that's what you have to do with the way they block. If you're going to zone block, if you're going to try to double team block, like if you can explode off the line of scrimmage and just disrupt some of the things in the backfield, it can throw off everything, just like that by Levi. Just getting his back in there throws off everything. And then, of course, you need that swarm tackle. That was a great tackle. A.J. Parker got in there. We don't have A.J. Parker either, so personnel is going to be interesting. We'll get to that. Trey Flowers played well in this game, and Lee McNeil makes a good play here too. But this is what you have to do against this Viking D-line. Get upfield, and they do some side steps here, which is really cool just because of the way that the Vikings are blocking. You can see they sidestep, and they split between the 2 offensive linemen like this, both Trey Flowers and Ali McNeil. So when they get to the backfield, it just blows up everything in the backfield. And then it's just, again, you have to swarm to the ball. And that's where your safeties become important. Derek Barnes, of course, the speed that he has. That's where that comes important. Now, the Lions, you saw Madison's stats. They look good. It looked like we really couldn't stop the run. But a lot of that came on this play. Where Derek Barnes, we're going to see him a lot this week because we don't have Jalen Reeves-Maybin, which is really tough. We're going to see a lot of Barnes. We saw all 3 a lot last time we played him. But this is that one example where he misses his tackle in the hole and he breaks it for a huge gain. So you definitely got to wrap up because one missed tackle can turn into things like that. And that's how the run game works. You can be stuffed all game, but one missed tackle and it breaks it for a big one. Earlier in the season, I feel like we had a little more coverage breakdowns. We had some issues with who's supposed to be where. Here you can see Amani. He sticks underneath with Thielen and it just opens up this huge hole in the zone coverage. That's a breakdown, right? That's not supposed to happen. It was really just Justin Jefferson that gave us, to me, a lot of problems in this game. You can see him on the bottom here. Justin Jefferson working on Amani one-on-one coverage. The Lions are going to bring Will Harris in the blitz. So now you really have no help. You're on an island, and Justin Jefferson makes the move. He's just really tough to cover man-to-man. This time, they're going to do this motion up with Madison, which shows man coverage. So at that point, you circle it in the slot. He's got one-on-one with A.J. Parker. Doesn't matter who it's on. You can see him. He just beats him one-on-one in coverage. And that's where the ball is going, okay? So bring a 4-man rush on this play, but they spread you out wide, and at the same time, they just want matchups. So it's going to be really important to try to contain him. And an issue for the Lions is they don't have A.J. Parker, all right? So they got Will Harris playing the slot position, which is going to be interesting, assuming that they continue to go with that Will Harris playing slot position. So that, we'll get to in a second, is going to be a very big key. But whoever was lined up on Jefferson, they just want man-to-man routes. And because I think the Lions in zone coverage were having some of their mistakes, in terms of breakdowns, there are some issues there. The Lions could possibly lean a little bit heavier maybe on zone coverage in this game. The issue with leaning more in zone coverage is you got to get pressure. If we're going to lean to the zone, the Lions are going to have to get after the quarterback. For example, he's just going to drag across on Amani. Lions are going to bring the blitz with Will Harris. So at that point, you only have one safety deep. It's one-on-one, and that's who he's going to. He's looking to Justin Jefferson. So he'll be very important to take away. Now, if you take away Jefferson, they're going to go more to Thielen, but Jefferson is their spark plug offensively. I mean, he's the guy that makes it happen. Now, this is a play I want to stop right here because as you can see, we got 3 linebackers. Derek, who played it in the inside, and then our 2, I guess, outside linebackers, if you're calling it a 4-3 defense, were Jalen and Alex Anzalone. Now, we don't have Jalen in this game. So an interesting thing will be, do the Lions continue to try to play 3 linebackers like this, and who would that guy be? We know we have Josh Woods, but I don't know if he fits that perfectly. So they may use some Josh Woods. We saw a little bit of CJ Moore last week. I think he's also a potential guy that could step in, especially on pass downs for Jalen Reeves-Maybin. We saw that a little bit last week as well. To me, an X factor will be Iffy in this game for many reasons. The Lions use Iffy if he can play. Do they put him in the box because he has size to do that? Do they play him at slot and move Will Harris as the safety in the box? How do they decide to do that? And of course, with the linebacker position, having Derek Barnes, having Alex, those guys can hold it down. We're going to see Tracy Walker come down and make a big play. Walker was really good in this game. I would anticipate the Lions keep Will Harris at slot. I mean, maybe at some point they move Iffy there, but I think they keep Will Harris at slot for this one. And maybe we just see an extra safety. Maybe it's some Dean Marlowe. Maybe it's CJ Moore. Maybe it's Jalen Elliott. I can see the Lions playing a little bit more 3 safety in this game, just leaning towards their personnel instead of 3 linebackers. But we'll see. We know they did sign one in the practice squad, Curtis Bolton. Now, offensively, the Lions had some issues in pass pro, and I'm hoping that's not going to be the case because we know they're missing some of those top rushers, right? Daniel Hunter, Everson Griffin, they're not there. So that's helpful. Sewell was also on the left side. We had Matt Nelson on the right side, which is not what it was, which is not what was good for us. This time he gets beat by Everson Griffin. He gave him problems on the left side. He gave him fits. So hopefully that's better because there was one drive, back-to-back plays, where pretty much wrecked our entire drive. You get that first sack, then you come back with this sack, and this one is a strip sack. So we lose possession there. Remember early this season, our issue was we wouldn't score. We turned it over in the red zone. Another turnover was a pick by guess who? Eric Kendricks. The thing I thought found success offensively, and I think other teams have done as well, is misdirection. All right, this team likes to fly the ball. The Lions were trying to run the football. I think misdirection works well. They did a lot of misdirection runs, but you also get some misdirection in the pass as well. The Vikings hide a player. St. Brown, he's sitting on this play. He starts here and he runs behind the line of scrimmage. No one finds him. Harrison Smith finds him late, but you can see the space that it's able to create here. All right, so those kind of little things where we can hide players on them could be very beneficial in this one. And then finally, to cap this off, Kadero Hodge played a good game, aside from missed block and, one that he didn't get open on. But because that's the case, and because passes like this were happening with Jared Goff, right, because the offense did change a little bit once we lost Cephas. I mean, with us having so many screens and things like that, I look for Josh Reynolds to have a huge game. Now, maybe Hodge plays a little bit in this one, but I look for Josh Reynolds to have a huge game. I'm projecting he gets at least 75 yards receiving in this game. That's kind of my bold prediction, my bold stat prediction. Statistically, the Minnesota Vikings defensively against the run aren't very good. And I think maybe part of that is, of course, you're missing some of those top defensive linemen that we're talking about that they could get back in this game. But I've also noticed the Vikings seem to play a lot of 2-deep safeties, like a lot of 2-deep safeties. And a couple ways teams have taken advantage of that, even us last time we played them, is that you can run off these safeties deep and then check it down underneath, screens, tight end screens, something underneath by just pulling guys back on the secondaries. I'm sure some of it took a hit when you lose a guy like Patrick Peterson. You have a secondary, cornerback position that's okay. Dantzler's a solid corner. Bashaw Breeland has struggled this season. You don't have some of those studs on the defensive line that you can just rely on to stop the run. I can see how that can happen statistically, and you can get where you are as the Minnesota Vikings. For our game, it's going to be interesting if they have those 2 guys back. Do they continue to keep playing the 2 deep safeties back? Because they did it against us the first time around a lot. So it'll be interesting if they continue to do that. And that, to me, is why the interior offense line is going to be extremely important. Under the radar position battle that could end up deciding this game, I'm looking on the offensive line in the interior. Okay, getting Big V back is going to be huge. But they're getting Dalvin Tomlinson. They're getting Michael Pierce. And that's huge in the run game first. All right, because we can't have all these holding calls and all these flags. I mean, there's like 3 things that you can't do. Can't lose a turnover battle, and you can't beat yourself with flags. We know those, well, I guess that's 2 things. But we know those things. The interior battle. Evan Brown, Jonah Jackson, Big V against possibly a Michael Pierce, possibly a Dalvin Tomlinson, the interior that they have. You could definitely open things underneath. And if the Vikings do creep up, you have to keep them honest by pushing the ball down the field and looking to take some shots. But I think you could definitely back up this back end and hit some things underneath. But to me, it's then going to come down to the interior O-line. And when we're running the football, can we win that battle in the trenches to get that push, not have these holding calls? Will they let us play? Can we win that battle in the interior? And then, of course, when you do look to pass, they're missing some of those defensive ends. But when you do look to pass, you have to open pass protection, and we can try to take some of these shots deep. I think the Lions can actually slow down this Vikings run. I think they can hang with this Vikings run game offensively, not just because Dalvin Cook's not there, but because of how well they've done the last few weeks, the shade technique that they've been playing on the defensive line to help in the run game with some of those big dudes. I think they can definitely hold up in the run, but then it goes to the pass attack. All right, now if you get in more obvious passing downs because you hold up in the run, that's great. because then you can pin the ears back. So it's like Todd Walsh said, we have to be able to pin our ears back and get after it. We need guys winning one-on-ones. But I think the ability to possibly play more zone coverage could be extremely beneficial for the Lions in this game. And then, of course, it's all about communication. I know I've said it so many times, but I think that's what it's all about. I think the Lions got to score 20 points to win this game at least. I think if you got to win this game, I think you got to score 20. I think you got to score 20. But at the same time, as I said earlier, Kirk Cousins is 0-5 when he doesn't have 275 yards passing. 275. So you focus on the run game, but a lot of things come off the run game. It's about the play actions, the hidden players, the play designs. The communication just needs to be on point. And if you don't have these coverage breakdowns, and you got to try to slow down that guy, Justin Jefferson, like San Fran did to help them get the win. So that's what I'm looking at for this game. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you, Prop, for watching. And